life. Lone wolf attacks, such as those of Olympic Park bomber Eric Rudolph and Oklahoma City bomber Timothy McVeigh, are tragic one-time events and shouldn't be confused with strategic attacks. In the immediate aftermath of one of these tactical attacks, we should mourn the loss of innocent life, then concentrate on finding, arresting, and trying the perpetrators. But these isolated events shouldn't fundamentally distort our lives or redefine our national security posture. Don't self-terrorize. Tactical terrorist attacks can change our way of life only if we choose to terrorize ourselves, thereby giving what is in fact an isolated incident strategic dimensions. A terrorist attack is normally conducted by the weak and humiliated as an act of desperation against a superior military foe. As implied in the word terrorism, those who engage in that practice employ their enemy's fears and insecurities as part of their weaponry. Terrorists depend on an overreaction to scale up the impact of whatever they've done. If we overreact, then we afford the enemy disproportionate power. In this regard, we should take a lesson from Israel and the United Kingdom. Both countries have experienced more than their fair share of terrorist activity, but with experience comes wisdom. The Israelis and British don't allow a terrorist attack to have an impact beyond the immediate blasting area of the explosion. They clean up the attack area quickly, mourn their dead appropriately, and without excessive fanfare, care for the injured and get back to normal life. Politicians, pundits, and civic leaders are relatively mute compared to their hyperventilating counterparts on American talk radio and cable TV. If a bomb explodes tomorrow in a New York City subway car, how should we react? In the first minutes after the attack, we should assume that there'll be other attacks, for that is Al-Qaeda's modus operandi. The train should be shut down and thoroughly searched for additional bombs and bombers. However, it's essential to get the trains running again as soon as possible, no later than the very next morning rush hour. Commercial aviation was stopped for 4 days after 9/11, but hindsight has revealed that this was unnecessary. If terrorists attempt to disable our transportation infrastructure again, we must deny them that satisfaction. We must minimize the impact of the attack on our lives. Of course, extra security is appropriate, but we must not shut down entirely, as we did following 9/11. It's crucial to maintain our national composure in the wake of a terrorist attack. In light of how overreacting plays into the terrorists' hands, those who in the wake of an attack promote hysteria to gain political advantage or raise network ratings should be held accountable for the havoc they wreak. Politicians and pundits who run to the microphones with frightening pronouncements should be condemned. Regardless of their political leanings, they're usually inaccurate or flat wrong. Many people think that tempering the national response to a terrorist event is impossible. They assume that we're not like the British and the Israelis. I disagree. We're slowly learning. As we saw in the aftermath of the horrific shooting spree at Virginia Tech, the media frenzy surrounding an event must be contained lest we give a madman his last wish for infamy and inadvertently inspire copycats. Initially, the media couldn't resist 24-hour coverage of that horrible carnage, and indeed it was an important news story. But after plastering Cho Sung-hwee's self-produced multimedia manifesto all over the networks for a day or two, most media executives realized they were serving the killer's wishes and pulled the images. It's a step in the right direction. In their response to domestic terror, the American media has begun to realize the significant impact they have on our national safety. I think Americans can and will learn to measure our responses to international terrorism as well, and in so doing, effectively disarm those who seek to destroy us. That said, let me be clear. We must never underestimate the very real threat of radical Islamic terrorism, led by Al-Qaeda. I've spent the better part of the past 30 years in counterterrorism work, and I'm fully aware of the special dangers this phenomenon poses. Our enemies have demonstrated both the intent and the capability to do us grave harm, and their leaders have repeatedly proven themselves impervious to reason. We must never bend